What's up, guys? Jason Guyman here tonight, and tonight we are not talking about Christmas lights. I know I have Daniel on here, and that's probably what you would think, but this is more of business, right? How to grow a business, how to get out of stuck, how to be able to get to where you want to go at, right? If you want to hit 100,000, if you want to hit a $500,000, if you want to hit 1,000,000 or 10 million, how to be able to look at things and grow your business. And so I know this is normally a pressure washing on Saturday or Sunday, but tonight I really want to hit on some things of what I see people are stuck and get stuck on and why they can't grow their business. It doesn't matter what type of business it is. Generally speaking, these are the things that we are going to do. And no, it is not what I normally say. I normally say, what I probably normally say is not enough marketing, and that is not what I'm going to hit on tonight. And Daniel asked to come on here because we've been talking about this a lot. And the reason why he's been able to hit where he is being hit, what he was able to accomplish in 2024 is because what I had told him to do back in about a year ago right now. So with that, before we get started, I see Jeremy's on here. What's up? But with that, if you don't know who Daniel is, Daniel, just give a 2-second or 30-second minute. Who are you? Where you're from? That kind of stuff. And why and how did you get into the business?
Yeah, so I got into the business because of you. I stumbled across your video in 2023 now, right? 2023. So it's not even been 2 years. I started in August, September 2023. I've now got 2 seasons of Christmas lights under my belt. I've come a long way in that time. And I just know that what you preach and what you teach works. I mean, I'm an example of that. You know my numbers. We don't even have to go into that tonight, but it's amazing what you can accomplish if you're just coachable and you listen, and I figured that would be something really good to talk about, right? Is like actually taking on information, asking questions, being proactive with your learning. I think that's all I've really done since day one. I don't really know too many people in the industry. I can probably actually count on 2 hands the amount of people I know. So not got a big circle in this industry, but what I've able to been accomplished is being through yourself, being active, being on these videos, being on the Monday night call. So yeah.
So one of the things that I will hit on your numbers of your first year, you did over $179,000 in Christmas lights alone, which is impressive. There's only about 1 or 2 other people that I know personally that hit those kind of numbers right out of the get-go. There's less than 10 people that I know that hit those types of numbers right out of the get-go and this was your first year in business. Now,
Yep.
One of the things about being coachable, what is your other thing that you do that you've kind of grew up and done and all of that stuff?
Yeah, so my background before I got into Christmas lights has only ever been football, soccer, and I've spoke about this on the call I've done with you before. Like, that's all I ever knew. Like, I was born and raised in a soccer family. My father was a professional footballer, soccer player, and I grew up in Scotland. He was a professional player back home in Scotland. My grandfather, I don't think I've discussed this on the last call, and this one might be where my entrepreneurial spirit comes from. My grandfather owned professional soccer clubs, and I've never really discussed that on here. So he owned professional soccer clubs. He owned oval race car tracks, stock car racing tracks, and he built from nothing all the way up. Ended up selling his business. It was very successful, but that was kind of my background. Then I obviously got into playing soccer. I would go and watch my father on the weekends, and if it wasn't my father, I'd go to my grandfather's clubs and watch those games. So it's all I ever knew. I wasn't really too focused on school, which kind of looking back on, I regret a little bit, but that's all I knew. And then I ended up playing soccer myself. I signed my first professional contract at 16 years old. I think the time I moved up to Inverness, I was 17. So I moved out my home at 17 years old, moved up to the Highlands of Scotland and lived with a host family up there and played my first year as a professional soccer player in an academy called Inverness, which is a professional club. Spent a year there. That was a very tough year. I learned a lot doing that. being away from my family at a young age. I graduated, I finished high school a year early, so I never got to do all the fun things that they did back then. Like over here, you know, you do the prom and all that. It's equivalent back home. I never got to do any of that. I kind of sacrificed those years away. Moved over to, I played another year of pro back home for a team called Livingston Football Club, another professional club, and then moved to America. And I made that decision because I was never going to get to the levels my father got to. I wasn't good enough. And I had that honest conversation when I was young. I was a really good player and I played for my national team and stuff, but I was never going to get to those levels. I also seen the difficulties my father went through. His career was ended short at 27 years old due to an Achilles rupture, a bad injury. And he had a lot of issues with it. And he had no education backing him up. So he found those years after he retired very difficult to find work. And back then, you didn't make as much money as you would make now as a professional player. And I kind of decided that I heard of this opportunity in America where you could kind of do both. You could get your education and play at a high level. And so that's why I came over here and I played NCAA Division I college soccer in America.
And so once you quit that, you got through college and you did sign. But then what have you been doing for the last few years after you got through college?
So when I finished college, I signed another pro contract in Carolina, the Carolina Railhawks. It's a minor league team over here in America. Honestly, when I tell you this, my contract was $12.50 a month. $12.50 a month as a professional soccer player. I signed 1 year with a 1 year option, a 2 year contract. I was like, this ain't for me. And my mum came to visit me for my first game. And she said, it was my birthday of all things. And she came and she says, Daniel, she says, are you sure you want to do this? And I just signed the contract 2 days before. And I'm like, I'm not sure, Mum. She's like, you've got brains. You could go and coach for my dad by this point. They had moved to America. And my dad was working for a club. He was the director at a club coaching. And I've always enjoyed coaching. I got my first coaching license at 16 years old. And I was like, my mom's like, you can make more coaching. You're really good at it. Your dad needs coaches. And so I ended up, long story short, left that contract, jumped in the car with my mom, drove back up to Virginia and started my coaching career.
And so you've been coaching for a long time. So
yeah.
One of the things I've been preaching a lot is what you water grows. And
yes.
What I mean by that is I see a lot of people join 57 things and wonder why nothing grows, right?
Yeah.
They start a pressure washing business. And yes, pressure washing and Christmas lights do go along together. But if you're not focusing on one, you're focusing on two different things or 3, 5. I know some people they do 25 things, they do 10 things, and they never focus on one thing. And so one of the things that Daniel, he wanted to start a different business come last year. And so he had did 179,000. And I had told him, I was like, you could double or triple that if you focus on Christmas lights. So you had sent me a message. What basically did I tell you about a year ago that you took to heart and you'd listened to what I had said about that?
Yeah, so you were really so this was the thing. Before we even get started on that, if we rewind a little bit, my first year in Christmas lights, after I'd stumbled across your videos, kind of figured it out, I was honestly going to be happy. And I remember we could look back in the messages that the early conversations. I was like, oh, I'll be happy if I do 50K. I would have been. You know, I'd never done anything outside the football. You know, I was coaching, I had a coaching business, and I was like, that would be amazing. Well, you told me back then, and you said, Daniel, and this was early on in the season, I think I was getting close to 50, and you told me, you're going to triple that. You're going to do 150. And I'd never, and this might sound weird, Jason, but I'd never had anyone since I played soccer. Mind you, I finished playing soccer in 2014. I'd never had anyone put that faith in me. Say I could, I've always done that for others since I started my coaching journey. I'm always, talking others up and getting them to meet their goals. And I don't know, it was an amazing feeling to know someone believed in me in a way. And you're a coach, right? And I'm like, and the thing I liked about it is you were very simple with it. Like, nothing's complicated. You don't complicate things. You're just very honest. You're right to the point. You told me I was going to triple it. And hell, I did. And I don't know how I did it. I worked really hard. I know that, but I don't know. You just saw it. And then again, year two, I kind of had a realistic goal and I surpassed it. And again, you were the one that told me I was going to do more than my initial goal. So I just got to thank you, mate. You've made me who I am today, and you've pushed me to exceed my own expectations. You've given me my goals that I'd never have thought I'd have been able to achieve.
So what did I tell you last year when you wanted to start 3 different businesses?
Yeah, that's a very important point. So this time last year, I just finished my first year in Christmas lights, did just shy 180K. I was like, right, I've learned all this stuff about Christmas lights. It's a service business, a lot of transferables. Why don't I now just go and start another business? And at the time last year, I was looking at doing pressure washing was one, and then the other one was landscape lighting. And we had a very candid conversation. You basically told me, you said, Daniel, I don't think it's a good idea. You're doing really well. You've just finished year one in Christmas lights. And at this point, I was doing a lot of groundwork. I was putting in a lot of the early work last year, and we'll get on to that, around this time for year two in Christmas lights, which is why I was able to accomplish my number in year two, was because I didn't start in October. I was started in February, March, picking up the phone, calling businesses, doing a lot of the things my competitors just simply aren't doing because they didn't have either the drive or the time. And that time was only there because you told me to focus on Christmas lights, and the revenue I'd made was enough to supplement my coaching income to get me through the year. So I didn't focus on anything else apart from coaching and Christmas lights.
Because the biggest thing that I see what makes people fail or not succeed is they don't focus on what they need to do. They don't water what they want to grow, right? If you have a gallon of water and you water half a gallon over here and a half a gallon over here, the likelihood of anything growing well is going to be very slim. But if we be consistent and you are consistent in what you do and you water what you're doing and you keep watering that whole gallon of water through the year, you will be surprised at how you can do this. I can go to even as far as I know people that all they do is focus on pavers. I know people that all they do is focus on roof cleaning. I know people that all they do is focus on house washing, and they do way more than anybody else. I can tell you that Wesley Bloom focused on 2 or 3 services to get him to almost $3 million, $2.5 million. He didn't start Christmas lights 3 years earlier when he took the class because he kept focusing on one thing, and he was doing almost $3 million in pressure washing alone because he focused, and he didn't do paver sealing. He didn't do deck sealing. All he did was house washing. When he first started out with driveways. Then he added houses, and then he added window cleaning. And that was pretty much it, right? He focused, he hyper-focused. He hyper-focused in a 5-mile range, and he was able to do that. Same way with Daniel. Daniel focused on Christmas lights, right? He was able to call 20, anywhere from 5 to 20 people every day of different types of people. And this is the thing that will set you apart from other things. Now, is he not doing anything else in those years? No, he was doing other things. He was setting up other systems so that when he come back into it, because the other thing I told him is you got to get off the truck, right? Because what did you do the first year, Daniel?
Yeah, so first year was really, really difficult from a staffing perspective. I was let down a few times, and I was on every job year one, and I'm not a fan of going on roofs. I'll go up if I have to, but I tried to avoid going on the roof, but I'd always have someone with me, and I was able to get I think it was around 80 installs year one, and I did all of them with someone else. And then year two, you told me, you're like, get off the truck now. And I was like, boom, done. Got off the truck. I had 2 to 3 crews the majority of the season doing the work. I didn't go on one. And if I did go on an install, it was to get some content or videos of the guys working. I wasn't doing anything. I'd maybe actually help out with a column or two just to chip in if I was there. But I wasn't taking part in that because the majority of my time, because you visited me, my phone was blowing up. So I spent a lot of the time on the phone making, at the end of the day, making the money for the business.
So the biggest thing that if you want to grow and scale is you got to get off the truck. This is probably one of the biggest things that I see people not doing of, they don't do this, right? They don't get off the truck. They work a $20 an hour task or a $30 an hour task instead of focusing on $100 task or $1,000 an hour task. And some people will be like, Jason, there is such thing as $1,000 task. You go to networking meetings, you go to, those things there could be worth $1,000 an hour task. That's, these big commercial jobs, you hit $100,000 and yes, you can hit $100,000 jobs or up to $100,000 jobs in commercial alone by going and meeting and networking and growing your network. But if you are on your truck, you are not doing those things. You can't do those things. It's physically impossible. Yes, you can, but you're going to go all dirty and all nasty and you're tired and you're not, chipper and ready to go and you're hurrying up to get out of there. And so you're not giving it your all so that way people will want to work and do business with you. And one of the things that I know gets asked all the time is I'm going to ask you. So when you go to these networks, do you have a script that you talk about?
No. Now, I have things I'm going to say to every customer. Like, we provide an all-inclusive service. We take care of the design and installation, supply of all materials, which are commercial grade, custom cut to your home, maintenance. If a bulb's to flicker out, we'll be there within 24 to 48 hours to fix it, and then take down. We'll return in January, take everything down, bring it back to our storage facilities, and then return in year 2. I'm going to say that in one way and another to every customer. They need to know that, but I don't, and that's the problem. A lot of people, they'll read the script and they'll bore the customer. At the end of the day, we're selling an experience. We're selling excitement. You've got to be passionate about what you're selling. At the end of the day, we're selling Christmas lights. It's in my opinion, it's the most fun business in the world. You're transforming people's homes. You're bringing excitement and joy to people. Like, you should be passionate about it, And if you're not, you're in the wrong line of work.
And that's even me telling people how to answer the phone. When you do one of my trainings, I talk about how to answer the phone because some of these people, they just are like, and they're just so into the job. And I actually did a phone conversation when I was looking up my thumbnail. I remember that when I went to Virginia to I'd helped him do a permanent light job. He was on the phone and I caught most of it, right? And he's just having a good time talking to this lady and smiling and, and they're just carrying on about whatever. And that's the whole point of this. It's not about this script that you got to do this and this and this, and here's the thing. If you suck at something, hire someone that is good at that job, right? Daniel, he only gotten on probably 2 or 3 roofs his whole Christmas-like career of the last 2 years, but yet he's found people that do better than him up there, right? Now, he does amazing at sales. So guess what? That's what he should be focusing on, is what he's amazing at. And if you suck at sales, then one of the hires that you may need to look at is how do I find someone that can sell? And yes, he's going to have to make good money, but guess what? You ain't making no money if you ain't selling nothing. So let's go back to the whole thing of what you water grows. How do you, when I say that, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, basically, it's like I'll apply it to my sporting background. Like, if you want to make it as a professional soccer player and you start going playing ice hockey, American football, and baseball, are you going to make it in professional soccer? Probably not, right? Because life is all about time at the end of the day, right? We only have so many hours in the day. And the 3 things right now I want to dedicate my life to are my Christmas light business, God, and my family. I don't have time for anything else. And if I'm to go and add in another business, I'm screwed. And in soccer, just so happens, it's kind of my hobby and I get paid for it at this point. You know what I mean? And it takes me, it's almost a de-stressor. And I think even soccer at this minute in time, and I spoke to my dad recently about this, it's taking up too much time. And I have to start looking at that. And the way that this Christmas light business is growing, there might come a time I might have to hang up the old coaching boots because I just can't dedicate all my time. I've got to narrow it down.
And it's very important. And, I know that a lot of times people struggle with this. And I see it a lot of times. I see it especially in the younger generation. Like the younger generation definitely struggles with this, right? They see this shiny syndrome, object shining. Like, oh, there's someone over here saying I can make money over here. And, oh, I can do this and I can make money over here. And you never focus. And one of my mentors that I listen to is Russell Brunson. And Russell Brunson always said that before, and even Alex Hormozy says the same thing. I've heard him say the same thing. Before you go start another business or do something different, get one business that is doing one thing to $1 million before you ever do anything else. Because if you don't focus on getting one thing to there, you will never get none of them to there. And you will be a failure at all of them, right? There will be not one that'll be amazing and great. But if you can get one business to $1 million a year, then you will know how to do things and you will know how to hire people to be able to get, then you'll be able to get several businesses to that because you know what you're doing at that point. But if you don't focus on one business to $1 million, and I will give you a pressure washing and Christmas light business because most of the time you can't do it everything. But other than that, if you're trying to do content and coaching, you're just trying to do all those little things just that, I want to get there, you will fail at everything.
Yeah. You told me that the other day, like about the million thing, and that made a lot of sense because to get to $1 million, you have to establish systems, right? And at that point, to get to $1 million, I'm sure, not there yet, will be soon, but I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of systems in place to get there. Right, and I'm almost going to be taking a little bit of a back seat to be able to manage something of that magnitude. So by that point, it makes sense. You get to $1 million, you've established good systems. I'm sure you can then go and take that into other things. But
and you're going to hit $1 million this year.
Makes too much sense. Yeah,
you're going to hit $1 million this year.
Yeah, hopefully.
David Hamill put $1 million business is much easier to run than a $250,000 one.
Yeah, I agree.
And the biggest thing is $1 million one, you are not on the truck. You're paying other people to do things that can do way better than you can, right? Yeah. And that is the key. Finding the people that will help you grow your business and coming up with the systems, the vision. This is one of the important part of why you need to have a mission and a vision, right? Because you can't bring other people along if you don't have a mission and a vision, and if you don't have a why, right? Because if you don't have a why, then even if you do $1 million business, money is just money at that point, and you're probably not going to be happy. And here's the other thing about $1 million business I want to hit on too. Just because you do $1 million business don't mean you're profitable and doesn't mean you're making money sometimes. I've seen businesses hit $1 million and they had a whole lot of employees. They were going broke and basically they were living paycheck to paycheck. And so just because you hit $1 million business doesn't mean that it's going to be a profitable one. So it's very important to make sure that we're hitting on those things too.
Yeah, that's important. Like you hear a lot of people and a lot of success stories, and then you always wonder, like, how are their margins, right? How are they actually running their business? Are they running it smart? Like, I don't know. Because in Christmas lights, you've really not got any excuse to not be running it smart. The profits are amazing, and that being said, if you're charging accordingly and you're charging properly, right? And I know you discuss that a lot frequently, and some people just choose not to listen to you on that, but you should be in Christmas lights at this point with the way the market is and things. You should be charging at least $10 a foot.
But Daniel, in my area, in his area, they charge $6-7 a foot too, or $4, $5, $6 a foot. But it don't matter. They're going to go broke.
I got a story for you. So today I get a phone call. I went down to my in-laws for Thanksgiving. Was it Thanksgiving or Christmas? No, Christmas. And I did his tree in his backyard. Big tree, beautiful. I took down a box of minis. I'm like, oh, I'm going to make his day. Boom. Lights all over the tree. Looked amazing. Like out a Hallmark movie. And I'm like, oh, that's great. Well, I forgot all about it. And so my father-in-law phones me today, or yesterday. He's like, Daniel, he's like, I've been at that tree for hours. He's like, those are a nightmare to get down. And a little light bulb went off my head and reminded me, last takedown season, after year one, I didn't do any takedowns this year, by the way, but year one takedowns, absolute nightmare getting lights off trees and all the other things. And if you don't, and I thought of it back then, just as well I listened to Jason, just as well I charged what I did. Because if I didn't, I would be hating my life right now. Because it's a lot of work, and people forget about that. They're very short-sighted. They think, oh, I've made all this money. Christmas Day, you look at your bank balance, you're like, wow. Well, by the time end of January, February rolls around, you look at your balance, there's a lot of money gone, you know? So, and a lot of effort, and a lot of energy, and a lot of time. So it's not as easy as just installing lights.
Yeah, actually, the tree at your house with stickers in it.
Oh, mate, I called you about that, didn't I? Unbelievable.
Pedro was all bleeding and everything.
Mate.
Jack of all trades, master of none. This is so true, man. It is so true. Of when you what you water grows. And I know I've been saying this a lot, and I have reasons why I say it a lot, but I really do believe that, you know, there is nothing special about Daniel to be able to do what he did this year. Not one thing. 179,000 his first year, that wasn't special either. It took a lot of hard work, and it took a lot of time. He didn't go to bed at 10 o'clock every night. He stayed up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning every night, and then he worked all day. And, you know, it is hard, but he was able to do it, right? And now that he can focus, he's already calling people now for this year and already getting jobs booked now in his commercial booked now versus trying to do all of these other things like everybody else does and don't focus on Christmas lights as much, right? And so now he can focus on how do I tweak my systems, right? I got the install side. Now, how do I get my side of the phone calling and how to answer that and how to get bids out quicker and how to do it a lot more efficient that we can now take the last 2 years and be like, okay, this is what we need to do to be more efficient, that we can work. And I need to hire this person or this person, and they need to be good at this, right? And sometimes we don't always know what they need to be good at. But when you've done it, you kind of know what they need to be good at. You know, the person answering the phone can't be a scatterbrain, because if they're a scatterbrain, they're going to forget stuff and not get things. So they need to be very, you know, type C personality that will make sure that they know all the digits and numbers and that kind of stuff. And so those are types of things of personalities that we can start using the personality thing of saying, hey, I need this type of personality. And you know what? It might be, hey, let's take a test to see what type of personality you are. Because if you are a type I, they're scatterbrains. I don't need a scatterbrain on the phone. I need someone that's going to be more getting stuff done. And so it is definitely important that we make sure that we do this. And so one of the things that I know, another reason why it's back to what you water grows, and I see this happen all the time. So some people will do marketing and they will start off with yard signs and they will start making money with yard signs. But then they will hear somebody talk about Facebook ads, and then they want to go put money in Facebook ads. So now they go put their money in Facebook ads, and they quit doing what worked with yard signs, right? They quit doing it. What they know it worked. It got them business, but they quit doing it because Joe Blow over here said go do Facebook. And so they go do Facebook. And then Bob over here said he does mailers. So now we're going to try to do mailers. And we've scattered everywhere instead of knowing what works and focusing on what works. If yard signs is working, go 10x it. And then if you want to add Facebook, you add Facebook on top of the yard signs. Don't cut one out and be like this, because that's what I see so many people do. Like, I've got one guy in my mentorship, and he found out that he ran the numbers. And here's the thing, you need to track what works. And a lot of people were like, well, Jason, it cost me so much for another phone number to track it. Okay, but how much is it costing you because you don't know what works? And so what he found out is he had a tracking number on his Facebook, or on his yard signs, and that every yard sign he put out is worth $75. $75, right? So that's why it is so important to know where your money is coming from. So you know that, $75 for every yard sign I put out. How do I put out 10 times more? Because he only put out 600 yard signs, but he got some really big jobs. Go ahead.
In this day and age, something I've saw, and I've saw it through people I know in the industry now. I don't know too many people, but people are, there's a small sample size of the people I've seen who have went early on in their business and went with a marketing agency who's promised them the world. I don't know, maybe go and try other things first, like go and try door hangers, go and try yard signs, go and try some door to door, go and try cold calls. Like, you don't always have to go and pour your money in right away into things that you don't know. It's a toss of a coin. But if you've got something there that's proven to work, try it. And what I did, year one, what did I do? I did mainly signs, some door hangers, a lot of Facebook groups, things like that, a lot of referrals. I didn't really do too much Facebook ads. I did it for maybe a week or two, and it didn't really work for me, and I turned it off. But year two, it flipped. I did a ton of, but this is the thing. Before the season, and I'm not going to name the people, I had a call with an agency. It was for Facebook marketing or social media marketing. And I just had a weird feeling in my gut. There was a lot of promises made, things that I'm thinking, you can't promise me anything, And I'm thinking, like, this, it almost sounds too good to be true. My dad's always told me, if something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. And I didn't end up going through and signing that contract with that agency. Instead, and this comes back to my work ethic, I spent the time, many, many hours, many frustrating hours, watching YouTube videos, watching your stuff as well, talking about Facebook ads. Anyway, long story short, it's actually not as hard as you think. You can figure it out for yourself. I figured it out for myself. I ran ads, and some people, the numbers, Jason, some people I've shared it with too, screenshots, can see my campaigns. A couple of them ended up being very, very fruitful. And that was because I took the time to go and educate and learn for myself, instead of just throwing money at something, fueling a fire. And the whole point of the story is I know somebody personally who poured just shy of $20,000 into an agency. Jason, I told you about this story. Well, he got about 2 or 3 leads from that company. And I see this agency, I see this person promoting all over the place, all over, talking about how great they're doing. The problem is you only hear 1 or 2 success stories. You hear their glowing reviews, but you don't see all the other things, So be very careful when you're diving in with these agencies.
So one of the other things is what you water grows, right? It doesn't grow overnight. So it takes patience and commitment, right?
Yeah.
Those are definitely 2 things that you have to look at that takes time, right? Success takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Daniel spent many days calling and getting no's a lot of the time. I remember there was a time he went almost 2 weeks that he was calling 25 businesses a day, and he kept getting a no, and he kept getting another no, and he kept getting another. He didn't get one yes for 2 weeks. He didn't even get a maybe for 2 weeks.
I remember calling you that. I was so pissed. I was out. Yeah.
So it takes time. And so when you focus on one thing, you can watch it grow, right? You can see what's working and what's not. When you try to focus on 2 or 3, 5, I know some people do a lot of stuff that it's going to be hard to do anything, because here's the other thing. When you focus on a lot of different things, when you focus on 10 different services, 15 different services, trying to hire someone to be able to do all of that is daggone near impossible. I mean, let's be honest. It ain't easy to do, to try to get them to do, all the different things that you're trying to get them to do. Now, I get it. Some of those things are very profitable, right? Paver sealing, they're very profitable. But you know how many callbacks I had to go do when I had my employees because they screwed something up one way or the other because it was my fault because they wasn't properly trained? Well, how do you properly train and then they quit or they go, they're not on that job? And so these are all of the things that you have to look at to have success, right? What did Barry put? Hyper focus on one thing, the one you do the best at, and dial it in, right? And here's the perfect example of what it is. It's little Barry's pressure washing, but he focuses on gas stations, right? He focuses mainly on gas stations. He may do a house or so, but his main focus, his main drive is all about gas stations. And when you focus and you hyper focus, then you are the expert in your area, right?
Yeah.
That is something that you will be the expert in your area. You got something you were going to say.
No, it's so true. Like, there's only so much time in the day, So, yeah, just focus on something.
What is some things that are you doing this year that you're focusing and watering to be able to hit your $1 million this year and year 3 of Christmas lights?
Yeah. You know what? It's actually exciting. So last year in year 2, like I'd mentioned like 5 minutes ago, when I did my marketing, I didn't really diversify. I kind of found something that worked, and I didn't even crank it up because I was at my capacity. I was only, and you know this, from 6, 7 in the morning until 11, 12 at night, and I felt bad for the customers, but some customers I was getting back to them late and just saying, look, you're swamped. But I was doing all I could with the intake of leads I was getting. Like, I was at my capacity. Now, the exciting thing is, I know that I can now go into year 3, and I'm already working on trying to find staff that is going to work for me in terms of lead intakes and getting this thing and going like that with a dial and cranking it. Because if I was able to do what I did year 2 with a lot of the legwork done early on in the season, mind you, but if I can do what I did in season again and just crank the dial and I have 2 more people picking up the phone, I mean, wow, it could just blow up. It really could. And that's the exciting part of it. I just need to get systems in place to be able to handle the volume. And, we've been in discussions about how's that going to look. One of the frustrating things I found was I spent a lot of time in year 1 and 2 dealing with tire kickers. We all have them, right? And it's like, how can we weed those out? Although we do specify in some of our campaigns our minimum and things like that, they still make their way through sometimes. How can we weed them out, maybe with AI, maybe with something doing automated responses? Because it's the same message. The first bit of intake I get from a lead on, let's say, Facebook, right, is a message, an automated, and I copy and paste it in and I send it out. Surely there's a way for AI to do that part so that when I'm on the phone to someone, it's a serious customer, right?
Yep.
And that's what's exciting.
Yeah, Daniel, he has what I've always said to people. Last year, when I went up there, he asked how many signs he should put out, and I told him, and his signs are still in his garage now. So
yeah,
he didn't put any signs out because he's like, I can't take no more
calls. Yeah. But that isn't that knowing what I've done. Isn't that the exciting part, right? It's like I've not even scratched the surface on what we can do, and I will.
So, Daniel, what are some things that you have found that has helped you stay focused?
Having goals, 100%. Having a coach, mentor, and friend like yourself. Because there is difficult times. And you know what I don't like? I don't know, I must be in their algorithm now, but I get a lot of other people in the industry who I don't know personally, and I've got nothing against them, but, you can make $100,000 in your first year, and they make it sound like it's so easy. It's not. It's really, in fact, it was very, very, very stressful. Both seasons, very difficult, very draining. And having someone at the other end of the phone, like yourself, actually caring about how you're doing, not only in Christmas lights, but in life, right? Because it can take its toll on you mentally, physically. It's such a unique, fast, and stressful season. And I've already seen people fail or say, maybe they've not met their goals. And I don't mean it personally when I ask them how they didn't meet their goals. I just want to understand where they maybe went wrong so that I can apply that to my own business. I'm always looking to learn through failures and success stories. But I've heard a lot of people say, oh yeah, they had an ambitious goal, they never met it, and they says, oh well, I'm gonna do this slowly, when that wasn't their first belief. Their first goal was to meet their whatever let's say it was 100,000, they didn't get there. Then they'll justify it by saying, well, I'm going to do it more slowly, I'm going to take my time. Well, what slowly? You know, why didn't you meet your goal? Instead of, oh yeah, I didn't meet it. Maybe you didn't meet it because you weren't asking the right questions. Maybe you didn't meet it because you don't have someone like you, Jason, who you pick up the phone to. Like, I wouldn't have got to my goal if I didn't know you. Nowhere near it.
Well,
So
and
you
I
have to
think
have someone.
one of the things too is right. We make excuses when we don't make it to our goal, and really the excuse should be I didn't take ownership in calling the people that I needed to do. I didn't put out the yard signs that I needed to put out. I didn't do the Facebook lives or the Facebook that makes me feel uncomfortable. I didn't go to the networking meetings because I was scared that, I don't know what to expect when I get there. I mean, you had that phone call with me of, Jason, I've got to go to this HOA and I don't know what to do, right?
Yeah.
And so, and was you nervous going to that HOA thing?
Oh, yeah. Very. Like, I've actually got a few more set up for this year where I'm going to go in and present. But yeah, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any clue. And if I hadn't spoke to you and got an idea of what to do, it'd have been an issue, But you have to be coachable and you have to lean on people. You have to ask questions, or you're just going to be mediocre. And if mediocre is fine with you, then you don't have to go out and ask questions and be proactive with your learning. But there's a lot of people I have found in this industry. There's a lot of people who I don't know if they're fully in terms of if they're fully in on being coached, or if they think they already might know it all. And
I was just going to hit on that about knowing about I know some people that have done half of what you've done, but they won't. They know everything, and so that's all they know, right? And so, how is that? Even like you as a professional, even like your dad that was a professional soccer player, how many coaches did he have even when he was playing?
Yeah, I mean, that's it, right? And if you ever get to the point where you feel like you know it all, you're doomed, because you don't, right? You can always be better. And I think that's something that's really helped me in this business. And I think that's why that it excites me what we've been talking about in the last 10 minutes about what are my next steps. It would be very easy for me. I've got a great life now. I'm comfortable. I could do this and just keep these same numbers and just keep my customers and just live a great, happy life. And maybe I'll get to that point where I'll be happy with that. But for now, I want to keep pushing, and I'm trying to find ways to better myself and asking you all these questions and trying to grow and learn, like what I'm going to implement. Maybe I'm going to leverage AI. How am I going to handle these leads? How am I going to crank up the dial? And I'm always trying to learn. And I think that's where people stumble, because they become content. They get the nice truck, they get the nice trailer, they get the nice stuff on the branding. They're flashy, and they've made it. And then they're happy, they're content, but that's not me.
Now, you did more than what most people will do. And did you have all the flashy stuff on the trucks and
No.
the wraps and everything?
No. I did actually think about getting a wrap. I had it all designed, ready to go. I showcased my wrap. I was very proud of it. And I ended up not following through with that, because I was weighing up, well, what works? Everyone's different. And this is another thing about Christmas lights. Every market area has its own techniques and skills and tricks that work. And my stuff here in Virginia might not work for somebody in California, right? So for me, what I've found is the way to move forward for me personally is we're going to be using a fleet of trailers. I just purchased my first trailer. I'm away to purchase another one soon. And that's because I employ roofers. And roofers are used to towing trailers. and roofers have trucks. They're all independent contractors. So by me going and purchasing trucks wouldn't be a sensible decision. Number one, way more expensive. And again, it goes back to your margins. When you're running your if you're running $1 million business, how are you really running it? What are your margins? Well, my goal is to have trailers. They'll all be wrapped. They'll all be branded. But then the benefit to that is they can all tow them. We can drop them off when we need to. They're low cost. You know, there's not going to be issues getting having to find insurance all the time, all these different things, and all the upkeep of owning a vehicle. So that works for us. Now, that's not to say that might work for somebody in a different state, but it works for us.
Yep, I agree.
So
what was it? Oh, Tristan, this is what I was going to say. I was going to give me a plug here real quick. So what you get if you join King of Pressure Wash or you join ChristmasLights.io. Oh, I didn't mean to do what I just did there.
Tristan's a killer.
There we go. If you join King of Pressure Wash or pressurewash.io, kingofpressurewash.com or Christmas Lights, every Monday night, Daniel pretty much shows up every Monday night and asks questions. And he's not the only one that's showing up to ask questions. Here's another awesome guy that shows up and asks questions. And these are how these guys have gotten their business to where they are. You know, when I originally started doing Monday night calls for my members, I was originally just kind of helping that, you know, I wanted to help all the new guys' questions and that. And if you are a new guy, you can come and I will answer your questions, or somebody else will jump in and answer them. But it's kind of became a mastermind of awesome people. It's about 15 to 20 people every week that show up. It's pretty much the same people like Daniel, Kyle Carter, Tristan, and you will ask questions and learn. And if you don't have questions to ask, you don't have to worry about it, because Tristan will ask 25 questions. But you know what? This is how he's gotten to over $300,000 in a pressure washing Christmas light business or more. You know, it's how he's gotten there is by coming in and asking questions, and not only to asking questions, but taking action, right? Because if you don't take action, it does you no good at the end of the day. And so that's what I'm going to hit on really hard about this of you can do this. It isn't impossible. You know, it's one of the things that I think it's just a good opportunity that there's a lot of awesome people that show up.
Yeah. You know, the other thing about the group that I've never really spoke about is it's a group of friends. Like, you know, being a business owner at times can be a very lonely place. Like, you've got a lot of pressure on you. There's a lot of things you have to go through. And not a lot of people understand, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, just at home. And being able to go on that call, and whether it's vent, whether it's ask for advice, it's invaluable. Like, and you can't, in my opinion, you can't put a price tag on that, because at the end of the day, these people like Tristan, Tristan's a friend of mine now. We're away to probably do some big things. Tristan's already built up some great relationships in business and real estate. Tristan and I have had a few conversations now. We're going to go into a deal together in real estate, a big multi-family real estate deal. We've sort of figured out the property, but I would never have met Tristan if it wasn't for your group.
Yep.
You know, and there's plenty of people in there. There's loads of them. Dan Mattix is in there. What's his name was on there, but he's not on there anymore. He was a good guy. He took the huff. He shouldn't have took the huff. Paul, he's a great guy. Who we got? Who's on there that always complains, but he's the funniest guy in the world?
I don't know.
Come on.
The one that always complains?
He's a killer. He's making a ton of money, but he's never making enough.
Oh, I can't remember which one it is. Daniel, I think.
He's in New York. He's coming to visit you next week.
Oh, Rick Musey.
Rick.
Yeah.
Absolute
Rick.
Killer. Funniest guy in the world.
Yeah, Rick
Just
is actually talking about Rick. He's coming down on Wednesday. He'll be here Wednesday. We are building him a rig Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Hopefully I get a rig built in 3 or 4 days. I'm spending all his money right now as we're buying this stuff. I got the whole list right here. of what we got here. I think it'll be around 12 or 15 grand is what it's going to end up being. But it's going to have a soft wash gas pump, the whole 9 yards. But
I mean, to listen to Rick alone's worth the price of admission. What a legend that guy is, man.
Yep. And Rick Musey is definitely one that, he beats himself up so hard. When he started my group, he was at $150,000. And then the two things I taught him was raise his prices and yard signs. And with that, he doubled it. The second year, he made $300,000 and did the same amount of work and made $300,000. And this past year, I think he was right around 450 or 475 is where he ended up being. And so he will probably be on this.
He's going to hit $1 million.
He will probably be on this Wednesday night. I don't know for sure, but he will be around here. So that is definitely what I will be doing with. So, what was David Hamill put? I love your trailer and roof remodel. So much cheaper. So,
yeah.
Again, if you didn't know, I do have a training coming up in a couple weeks. You can go to KPW Train and for pressure washing, it's kpwtrain.com, or you can go to christmaslights.io/IPT in-person training. It's going to be not actual Christmas lights. It's going to be permanent lighting training. So if you want to do all 3 days, I do Friday will be pressure washing. Saturday is the most important day, which is marketing and sales and learning how to close jobs and how to do all the different types of marketing. And then Sunday will be permanent lights. And so if you want to join me, it's only in about 3 weeks. I believe actually it's March 22nd, I believe, that weekend of March 22nd. And then I also have another one coming up in April, and they are both live on both Christmas Lights and there. And the good thing about the in-person training is you get to meet a lot of cool people. I got to meet at one of my in-person trainings I got to meet like the second largest Christmas light installer. I've got to meet Bob Matthews, who is does a $1.5 million worth of just HOAs and stuff. And so when you come to these trainings, you never know who you might meet and get to see and talk to. And so, and honestly, that is the networking side of even when you come to these trainings is a huge deal for you to be able to grow and scale your business and get around other people. And when you realize these other people that you're around, you're like, well, there ain't nothing special about these people, but yet they're doing very well. And so that is the great thing about the Christmas light business.
The other thing about you, Jason, that, I've always said is you back it up. Like there's a lot, it's like, and then it's in sports again, like a coach has to be able to back it up, right? And the fact that, you preach to us, be consistent, show up, work hard, I don't know, like practice. And then you come on here every single week, every Sunday. And then you're on the call on a Monday with us. You're on here on Wednesday. There is not one other coach in this industry or business or company putting in the reps, putting in the hours, consistently showing up like you do. And then people have the cheek. I had to turn that Facebook group off because people have the cheek to go on and say, oh, well, Jason's only promoting his product. Yeah, because he's giving away constant value every single week. I've learned my whole business. I'm away to hit $1 million, hopefully, year 3. Who did I learn from? You. No one else. You. And it annoys me when people go, oh, yeah, he's only pushing his own product. Yeah, of course he is, because he's putting in all the time that no one else is doing, And you see all these other guys just pop up around Christmas light season trying to promote their training and their course. Where were they the rest of the year? You're in here, and what is it right now? March 2nd, talking about Christmas lights, talking about growing your business. I don't see anyone else doing that.
Yep.
There you go.
So one of the things that I'm going to hit on here, Paul, I know you're in Alabama, but you put hard to get customers here. Everybody's worried about the economy. And the biggest thing I would say is you need to change your mindset. Because if you believe this right here, you will struggle in getting business. I don't care what it is. And it is so important about mindset, because if you believe this, you are 100% right. Is there one or two people not buying because of the economy? Sure. But here's the deal. There's 20 other people that ain't worried about it. I got 2 people in Alabama that are doing really well already down there. Both of them are. One of them's had 2 record months already, and the other one's done well, way more than they did last year. So I don't always believe what I hear when I see that. And this is why I say, if you got to change your mindset, because your mindset is a lot to do with how you grow your business. If you believe that your glass is half full all the time and you're a negative type of person, it's going to be really, really, really hard to grow your business. It ain't going to be easy. It's going to take time, and it's definitely going to be hard for you to do that. Now, if you are a guy that's your glass is half full, then you got a lot, you got that positive outlook. And I get it. It can be hard to have a positive or negative output. But this is what I will say to you. Like I said, I got 2 people in 2 different areas down in Alabama that have had really good July, or already had a good January and February, way better than they had in the past. And so what I will say is I'm from Alabama too, and they throw themselves at us because we are selling magic, right? And this is a lot to do with, what are you selling? Are you selling pressure washing, or are you selling the magic, right? I agree with Brandon. Brandon's 100% right. And this doesn't matter if we're talking about pressure washing or Christmas lights. If you are selling the thing and you don't know how to sell, the reason why I do my Saturday in-person training, and there's times that you get uncomfortable, like I make you stand up and talk to each other, because if you can't talk between 2 people here, how the hell are you going to talk to a customer when they're looking at you funny and they say, you're out of your mind, you're crazy, there ain't no way I'd ever pay that? Well, you didn't sell what you needed to sell to make sure that you're doing that, right? And so magic and pressure washing, 100%. And this is something that you really, really have to change your mindset of what you believe and how you do it, and you will be surprised that you can sell way better. So
Jason,
yeah.
I just saw a comment here. You'd be much more fulfilled chasing your purpose than $1 million from how you contradicted what you just said. My experience with just one business. So, $1 million or not, that's actually not personally my goal. That's a goal Jason's given me. We'll see if I make it year 3. There's a good chance I will. But my goals are more driven by my purpose. And my purpose, I spoke about my purpose last week. And this is a cool thing about my story. Money really isn't my motivator. My motivator is my father. My father was recently diagnosed with blood cancer. As I've spoke about earlier in the call, he's my role model. He's everything to me. And he came up to me when I was coaching around about a year ago, 2 years ago, before I started this business, and said, Daniel, you're so skilled. You've got a lot of skills that will transfer into other things. You're really good at dealing with people. Why don't you try your hands at something else and see how you do? Because I know you've got to build, another revenue stream for your family, because coaching's never going to build wealth. And so I wanted to get into something else, more so as a challenge rather than just for the money. Of course, the extra revenue stream, it helps, but it's not about, me making $1 million, $2 million, anything like that. It's more so about trying to make my father proud. So my father came up to me after my first year in Christmas lights and told me how proud he was of me. And I don't hear that very often. He's not the kind of man that just comes and tells you he's proud of you. He came up to me after my first year in Christmas lights, knowing what I'd done, and said how proud he was, and how proud he was to see a smile back on my face. And that's what drives me, is more so making my family proud, making myself proud, rather than any money or anything like that. Money just happens to come in as you run a successful business. It's a byproduct of doing the right things on a daily basis. But I'm more into this. And this is the thing. People who chase money, they usually burn out because they're fueled by money. That's not it for me. And I don't know if you can sense my passion over this call, but my passion is making people happy, creating an experience that I'm proud of, making sure my guys share the same values and same vision that I do, and helping people. I've got one of my employees right now was struggling, and he came and thanked me to be given the opportunity to make $40 to $45 an hour working for me. And that's what puts a smile on my face. So as much as we're talking about money and things like that, I've never really told you, I've never discussed my numbers on this call, what I made this year, and I wouldn't do that. But yeah, money is, but let's not confuse that with what the real motivator is here. I just wanted to highlight that because,
No, I agree 100% because if it's only money motivating you, you're probably not going to get there.
yeah, yeah.
Because it's back to if that is your goal, then it's just one of those things that you're going to get there and then you're going to be like, well, what's next? Right. So, look, they want to be banned. Yeah, they just got banned. Thursday, we sent out a text to our wash customer list. Now we have 54 homeowners asking us to wash their homes. Every wash estimate gets info on lights, no matter what time of year it is. I just want to make enough money to keep my business going, quit my day job, and bless others in need. So, with that, what are some words of encouragement here at the end of this before we jump off here?
Yeah, just like I just spoke about, like find your why, find your what drives you, and you know, because there's going to be days when you're sitting there in your truck thinking, why am I doing all this? Those days there'll be a number of them in the year, and you just have to have something that's there driving you, whether it's your family, whatever it is for you, and find that because on those tough days you'll need that reminder why you're really doing all of this. And if you're going to be successful, you need to have those as motivators. And then, yeah, motivation's great, but you've also got to be disciplined and having enough discipline on the tough days when you don't want to get up early or you don't want to pick up the phone and call your commercial properties or whatever it's you're doing to get ahead. Maybe you don't want to do the research to figure out how to do Facebook ads. Having the discipline to know that you need to get through those days and keep going and persevering.
Yep. Well, other than that, I hope y'all learned something. I hope y'all take action. You know, one of my goals, I know I've said it, but one of my goals is to help 1,000 people make $100,000 a year. Right? That's one of my goals, right? And I'm pretty close to that. I'm gonna have to either bump it up or come up with a new goal. And you know, the thing that I also do, yes, I want to get people to 100,000, but I want to get you past that too, right? I want to get you to 1 million. I want to get it to where you want to be at. And that's the
Yeah.
thing that I really want to help you grow and succeed. And so as I give, I don't hold much back. Like, yes, you can go in my membership, and yes, I have a membership. And, I know somebody gave me crap the other day that I have a membership and I charge, but I give everything away pretty much on these Wednesday nights in my regular videos. That if you go out there and do the time and research, I pretty much give everything away. Now, on those Monday night calls, honestly, I think that's where my gold is in my membership. Yes, I have the 26 steps to the perfect house wash and 26 steps to the perfect putting up Christmas lights fast. And yes, I teach the different systems. But honestly, it's the networking between the people to figure out how they can be better in business and what's working for them and what's working for other people. And that right there is the key steps of what you need to keep growing.
Jace, can I say something real quick that's important?
Yep.
Don't be discouraged by what others are making. Again, it goes back to every area is different. Everyone's story is different. Like, don't discourage yourself because there's somebody in your, I don't know, on your call or whatever, making 100,000 year one and you only made 50. At the same time, everyone's journey is different. And yeah, it may take you longer to get there, whatever, but try and just, focus on you and try not to compare yourself to others in a way. Because that, again, can lead to depression and discourage you. So, set your own goals. It's so important in anything, in sports as well, when you have to set your own short-term and long-term goals. And I think that those small wins will help you, keep going. Like the other week, I bought a shelving for my trailer, and when I looked at my trailer, and I'm thinking, that's amazing. It was only a year and a half ago I couldn't afford to get a trailer, and it's those little small wins that keep you going and motivated, and
Yep.
being gratitude.
David Hamill put, making a difference in my guys is a big why. Helped 3 people buy houses so far. Taught all of them to improve their credit scores, so much to pour into them, right? And that's the whole thing, right? Is what is your why? And that's very important to go look at what is your why. Thanks for the input. I'm going to keep grinding and keep trying to push my work. Talladega here hopefully will get you better. Thanks. Comparison is the thief of joy. And, I kind of pushed this out the other day of competition, whether it's a competitor or comparison. The only thing you need to be is trying to do better than what you did yesterday. The only thing you can change is you. So, with that, hope everybody has a great night. Have a great week. We're getting closer to the pressure washing season. If you're in pressure washing, it is not that far away. So, with that, hope you all have a good night, and we'll see you all later.